Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. Once again, on behalf of the Sikh Sangat of Singh Sahaba Seven Kings, I'd like to thank the Sikh channel and welcome you all to the live discussion show. This week, we are going to discuss a topic that we believe is quite a relevant topic, and it's an important topic, and something that we don't discuss perhaps as much as we should do. And that's the issue of alcoholism, alcohol, and society. Just to touch back on base about the format of the program and why we are doing this live show. Like I said before, it's a live show for the youth, and it's an arena, it's a forum for youth to come forward and express their voice and express their concerns. Like we've said before, often we find that doesn't exist out there for us, people of a certain generation. And we're hoping that this kind of program and programs like these, which the Sikh channel allow, give that opportunity for the youth. And again, it's important for the youth to step up and to get involved in issues, get involved in masle, and take a lead, because as corny and as cliche as it sounds, we are the future. And unless we step up, unless we get involved in the issues, unless we make decisions, then nothing will change. And I'd like to send a message out to the Gursikhs out there, the ones who've committed themselves to Gursikhi Jeevan, the ones who have had the Kirpa of Amrit. Please, please, please step forward and get involved in more administrative roles and more roles involved in the outside world representing Sikhi. Because personal feeling is I think we have a big gap there at the moment, and we've got some amazing Gursikhs out there. You know, I've met them in my life, I've come across them. And I think at the moment, perhaps some of those Singhs and Singnia aren't getting involved in the roles that they should be. Without much to do now, I think we'll step straight into the topic. Like I said, we're going to talk about alcohol and society. And it's an interesting topic for Sikhs, particularly Punjabis or Sikhs or however you want to classify it, because you know, there's no denying we have an issue within the community. It's evident, you know, we've grown up with it, we see it ourselves, we see it all the time. And it's, you know, it's something we can't escape. But to talk about main society in general, when I was going through Google and I was looking at some facts and figures, and there's an interesting quote I came across, and it said, British men, especially of Indian origin, are more susceptible to alcohol-related problems than white males, according to a scientific study. For every 100 white men dying from alcohol-related causes, there are 160 Asian men dying. These are some of the facts published in a report by the British Medical Journal. That's quite concerning. So that's what, 100 to 160, you know, and that's a concerning ratio. In general, from illnesses caused directly from alcohol, there are 33,000 deaths in the UK each year, ranging from liver disease, liver cancer, mouth cancer, chronic pancreatic pancreatitis, leading to diabetes, depression, psychosis, mental illness. And it's estimated that 1 in 17 people in Great Britain depend on alcohol to get through the day. So it's a fairly significant percentage. Now, Drinkware is a governing body that tries to promote good drinking, as they call it. And I went on their website, and they actually said that 30% of sexual offences are due to alcohol. And 50% of street crimes. So that's a significant number, 50% of street crimes related to alcohol. And also you look at 40%, this is again on Drinkware, 40% of those admitted to accident and emergency A&E are diagnosed as alcohol-related issues. They're a big concern. And another one, over 400 deaths a year are caused by drivers who are over the limit on our roads. So, you know, you look at the stats, it's quite concerning in that respect. Yet, it's a very common culture to accept drinking.
I think also, I mean, regardless of stats, there won't be no stats for the specific Punjabi community. But I think in all our families, we probably experienced an alcoholic, you know, an alcoholic who has died from alcohol abuse. So, you know.
No, definitely. I mean, I did search for that, and I don't think there has been any specific studies.
No.
commissioned by the Sikh community. We haven't commissioned anything.
We've all experienced it.
And yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think, without maybe sounding hysterical here, the 100 white men, they're talking about 160 Asian men dying from alcohol-related illnesses. A big portion of that, I wouldn't be surprised, are people from the Punjabi community. I wouldn't be surprised if that, and they've branded us as the Asian. So let's look at Gurbani, and let's look at Rat. The Gurbani tuk that comes to mind, which I think we're all familiar with, is the one of Kabir. I'm not going to say the Gurbani tuk because it was struggling to get our tongue around and out of fear of mispronunciation. But in English, it's Kabir. These mortals who consume marijuana, fish, wine, no matter what pilgrimages, fasts, and rituals they follow, it all goes to waste and is of no use. So it's interesting. Maybe we can dwell on that for a short period of time, and maybe we can get some participation from the Sangat here. But that tuk's in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So Kabir is clearly telling us that you may be doing the right kind of things, the deeds, the pilgrims and the pilgrimages, and believe you're doing the right kind of rituals. But if you're going to consume drugs and alcohol, then really you're cancelling out that positive effect. Yeah. Does anyone feel like they can comment on that? Or I pass the mic to you.
In addition to what Viji's just said, there's also another quote from Gurbani, which I can't remember off the top of my head, which says, your body, you should treat your body like a mandir, because Guru Maharaj is inside. We don't search for Guruji in pilgrimages and everything, because Guruji is with us all the time inside. So we're to treat our bodies like a mandir. On this basis as well, we shouldn't be filling it with sharab or any other intoxicants.
No, I think that's very right. A talk that I remember, we said in Rara Sahib is Vai Parapat Manuk Duriya, Gobind Milan Ke Teri Pare. Now we often, you can look at it that way as well, because the body is very special. That Maharaj is Kalpur is given to us, so use it wisely. Use it wisely. Don't waste it. Don't get involved in all these worldly addictions. Hanji Panji.
आज अपना टॉपिक हैगा अल्कोहल और एनी अदर ड्रग्स नशा सब तो पहला अल्कोहल है की है इट्स जस्ट अ काइंड ऑफ मेडिसिन कुदरत ने साइंटिस्ट ने इन्ना हार्ड वर्क करके इनू पैदा किया चीज़ बनाई किस लिए क्योंकि महाराज ने आपां नू जिस दुनिया ते भेजा इस दुनिया विच आपां इहदा सही मतलब इहदे विच आपां महाराज दा नाम जप सकीए इस दुनिया विच सही अपना जन्म कढ सकीए उहदे वास्ते कि अपनी सेहत बीमार हुंदी है तां आपां दवाइयां लैंदे आ मोस्टली काफ़ी रब्स लैंदे आ उहनां विच एल्कोहल हुंदी है पर कुछ परसेंटेज हुंदी आ ओह असीं नशा नहीं करदे ओह एज अ मैडिसन लैंदे आ पर जे उस नूं आपां कह सकते आपां नूं कि ओहदी आपां दुरवरतों करके ओहनूं एक नाम दिता कि नशा आ नशा है की है ओह जे आपां शराबियां नूं पुछीए तुसीं शराब क्यों पींदे आ कहंदे सानूं मज़ा आउंदा इंजॉय करते हैं आनंद आता असी दुनिया भुल जाने पर जी असली नशा वो असी करते ही नहीं उधर जाते ही नहीं महाराज ने सीधा क्या नाम खुमारी नानका चढ़ी रहे दिन रात सब तो वड्डा नशा नाम दा है और सब तो सौखा है ਉਹਦੇ ਚ कोई खर्चा नहीं है कोई घर नहीं टुटदे कोई किसी नाल लड़ाइयां नहीं हुंदियां कोई मरदा नहीं कोई बीमार नहीं हुंदा कुछ नहीं हुंदा सब तो वड्डा नशा नाम दा उधर असी जाते ही नहीं वो क्यों नहीं जाते असी क्योंकि सानू ਅਸੀਂ ਉਧਰ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ
that's right
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੁਰਾਈ ਦਾ ਰਸਤਾ ਉਧਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਲਦੀ ਜਲਦੀ ਭੱਜਦੇ ਆਂ ਪਰ ਜੋ ਅਛਾਈ ਦਾ ਰਸਤਾ ਹੈ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਅਛਾਈ ਦੇ ਰਸਤੇ ਤੇ ਬੁਰਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੂਲੀ ਦੀ ਸੂਲ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਪਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੂਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੂਲ ਹੀ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਧਰ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਰਮਲੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਈ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੀਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੋਸਟਲੀ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਪੱਗਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਰਾਹ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਰਦੇ
That, you mentioned there, Panji, it's a really painful thing because we all have to deal with that. Because what's there and sanu? They meet you and say, you're a Sikh, yeah, but you don't drink. How can that be the case? And you have to always go through the same story and explain that Sikhs do not drink. But the perception out there, jidna bande sochda whatever they've seen of us, jera kuch unhone dekhya, they think that we're sharabis, and it hurts us. Dukh bahut lagda hai. Jere bande peende are, maybe they don't feel so hurt by those kind of comments, and You know, pehla I'm looking at my life as well. Pehla, you know, we didn't have kirpa all the time. You know, we thode je, you know, we went down the wrong route. Jad assi chote sige, and you know, we didn't think of it at that time. Ke assi galat kuch kar rahe. But now it's funny when you look back at it now. It hurts so much. Ke kisi ne dastar banniya and you know, sharab pinde, cigarette pinde, or do something. It's so painful. It really hurts. Purely because you see the roop as Maharaj's roop now. You see it as Guruji's roop. But I wanted to also touch on Benji's point about, she's saying about, you know, if you think of the source of alcohol, it's sugar. You know, Maharaj's Kalpur has given us such a choice in life because you can go down two routes. You can see almost two paths there. From that same sugar, you can ferment and you can make alcohol. From that same sugar, you can dry it up, make patasse, and you can stir it and make amrit. You know, so you look at the two choices and those metaphors in reality, if you look at those metaphors exist in real life, you have these two choices in life. You know, you can choose the right path. Benji can they choose the right path. You know, naam nasha, if you want to call it naam nasha, or you choose the, you know, the fake nasha. Hanji Paji, take it.
There was a very interesting article read yesterday about some things that's happened in Egypt recently. They've banned it in certain bars to go in if you're wearing a hijab. Because bars is in
bars like,
that serve alcohol. Yeah, but bars that serve alcohol.
All right.
And the reason that a lot of club owners and bar owners say this, say, look, if a bibi comes in wearing a hijab, or she's wearing the full like jola that Muslim bibi wear, it makes a lot of the people in the club feel uncomfortable, and they don't buy alcohol. If they don't buy alcohol, the revenue goes down.
Interesting.
And as a result, you know, it affects their business. So they'll say, you know, like, oh, for every 10 people, one hijab wearing bibi is allowed, or kind of not at all, or if it's really quiet and they just need some kind of business. So if you have a look there, and that was an article I read yesterday about something that's just happened just now, right? So that's, when I say modern day, I mean like to this day. Now, if you compare that to how it is to sit, for example, there's been times where like Kirpanal, I've gotten on a bus, and you see there's a Punjabi munda there with a can of Foster's in his hand. He saw me and he put the dabba down, right? And it wasn't me he's seen Gursikh Surup, he put it down, right? But that's very rare. Majority of the time, it's, there's a thing, we can drink even more, Nadi Biluga. And you see how that transition has happened to us as a community, where we've gone from one where it used to be kind of a standard of morality.
Of course, yeah.
Is now the complete opposite of our own tenets. So, you know, it's an interesting thing where like one day you know, if there was a thing was there, people would be a little bit more aware of their actions. Not that they're being judged, but they know that that person represents something that they should also be representing. But now it's the case of the opposite way around. That is a singer, he's going to be drinking with us, chal theek hai. And I think that we need to bear in mind that when what we represent as both as a community and as individuals is starting to become very, very skewed. And it's a good thing that this topic's coming up right now, because it's a lot more current than I think some people give it credit.
Definitely. I mean, you know, we all know this, that our roop is our unique identity, you know, and what's so special about being a Sikh is the way it manifests. You know, all these other religions that exist out there, but they don't have to have the expression that we have on our outside, our outer roop. It's such an integral and important part of being a Sikh, to have a dastar, to wear the panch kakar, to look a certain way. So Maharaj gave us that structure for a certain reason. It was a safeguard in a way. It was a safeguard. You have such a clean image, such an important image. You'll automatically. If you think about Bhai Joga Singh Sakhi, if it was his roop. I mean, if he had done what his man had said, he would have made a big mistake. But you know, once he got realization, you know, of his roop, perhaps he saw, you know, his own reflection. Perhaps he saw one of his kakars. He saw something, and he took a step back, and he goes, you know, before I do a karat or do something I'm going to regret, you know, take a step back, and that's what the roop was there for.
Not also for the overall group, and I think for the individual as well. I mean, if you haven't got physical control of yourself, how will you even expect to have spiritual focus?
Hanji, no, definitely. It's a discipline.
Yeah. If alcohol will affect you, and it will affect people around you. So, you know, that's why Maharaj, in our Rat Maryada, which is our practical way of living Gursikhi life, you know, Maharaj has put one of the kurats as do not use tobacco, alcohol, or intoxicating drugs. It's a restriction. There's no two ways about it.
It's one of the four kurats, one of the dark kurats. It's one of the biggest kurats. So, you know, it is there. It's highlighted. It's a headline.
Yeah.
If you look at it that way, it's a headline in Sikhi.
Hanji.
ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣੇ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਧਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅਲਾਉਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਲਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਟਿਲ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਨਸ਼ਾ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ। ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਿੰਘ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਹੂਗਾ ਚਲ ਤੂੰ ਵੀ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਲੈ, ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਪਰ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੁੱਡ ਬੀ ਸ਼ੇਮਫੁਲ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਧਰਮ ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਲਾਉ ਕਰਦਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਗਲਤ ਰਸਤੇ 'ਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਟਿਲ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵਿਕਦੀ ਆ ਠੇਕਾ, ਹੁਣ ਵਰਡ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਜੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਠੇਕੇ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਖੜੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਬੀ ਹੀ ਕਹਿਲਾਏਗਾ। ਭਾਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋ, ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਠੇਕੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਖੜੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਸਟਿਲ ਯੂ ਆਰ ਸ਼ਰਾਬੀ। ਤੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਸਖਤ ਵਰਡਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਥ ਲਾ ਰਹੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੀ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਧੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਬੈਠੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, ਮਾਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਬੈਠੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਆ, ਜਦ ਕਿ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀ ਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀਂਦੇ ਆ।
That's it. Like what Panji's saying, I mean, a step further, I mean, that people who have experienced alcoholism in their family have lost loved ones to alcoholism. They still decide to throw parties.
What do you think that is?
They still feel the push of the society, saying that it's needed, that within our Punjabi society a wedding cannot be complete without a party which includes alcohol. Regardless of whether that family has been destroyed by alcohol, they still do not feel that they should side with the principle of not having alcohol.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I've seen that from my own experience. I think, I've seen families where they've had deaths in that family due to alcohol, and yet it doesn't seem to have had an impact. They're all sad about it. They said, "Bo pindasi," if only we could have helped him, whatever. Yet there's another program te jao, and it's still there. It's almost like they haven't learnt the lesson. They've seen death. And like you said earlier on in the show as well, I think there's probably not one person here that hasn't indirectly known someone in their family, immediate, extended, that's died from an alcohol-related illness. It's a big problem. It's a big issue. And, it's not discussed perhaps as much.
I think the big stepping stone for a Punjabi community would be the day where we actually accept that someone in our family is not drinking for the fun of it, but he's actually got a problem. He's got illness, and he's drinking because he's an alcoholic. And I think that's something which we really do try to ignore, or we don't understand. We think that drinking is all about enjoyment, is all about fun and social. We can't socialize within our family without having those bottles opened.
Kushi Manani.
Kushi Manani is only one way of doing it.
I mean, I was watching an interesting program, I think it was Panorama a few weeks ago, and they were talking about alcoholism in middle class England. They thought, people have a perception that an alcoholic is down in the dumps, he's in the gutter, and he'll recognize him, he's whatever. But the program actually was highlighting the fact that you have, they call them functional alcoholics. They come to Vijandaya, they hold a job down, whatever, but they have a drink problem, they have an alcohol problem. They can't survive the day with maybe getting a drink. They can't survive the night. They might survive the day, but they can't survive the evening and the night time without drinking. And, I'll talk about my life as well. I almost going back, before I got into Sikh, I fell into a little trap in my life where you can get very relaxed and start opening a bottle at night. And it becomes, and this is where Rara Sahib saves you. Sometimes I think about it, I think, what's the power of Rara Sahib? Rara Sahib, it's very easy at that time, that vela, to lose yourself a little bit. You're at a peak, and you're almost at that vela, you want to come down, you want to relax yourself, A lot of people fall into that trap. They want to go to the pub at that time, they want to go to certain places. Rara Sahib is that fix. Rara Sahib is that time fix, but it takes you back down, it brings you to the kind of level. It's just saving grace, I think. For me it was anyway. That's how I see it. Very true. But it's easy to fall in that trap. I mean, face it, alcohol's cheap. It's not as expensive as it's freely available. You can get it on every street corner. Anyone can get served. You don't need a license to have it. It's not illegal like drugs.
It's 24 hours.
It's 24 hours. It's a legal drug. Hanji.
When you said about people that don't realise they have a problem, I was actually talking to someone just before the show who's now an Amritdhari, but he was telling me that he used to think, okay, I'm just a social drinker, I don't have any problem, anything, just like what you're talking about. And someone directed him, keep a diary, just note down every time you drink how much you've drank. And after keeping that diary, he actually quit drinking because he realised, wow, I've got a serious drink problem here, I'm just drinking way too much. So I'd advise anyone to do that. If you do drink, just note it down and keep a track over a week or a couple of days, and you might be quite surprised, and you might want to
yeah.
rethink, what am I doing? You know, you could put your money somewhere else, you could put your time somewhere else, you could do something productive in that time, and just don't pollute your body. The other point I want to say was that I know Benji said that a lot of people, everyone knows that alcohol is banned in Sikhi, but they still do it. But I would say that maybe in the young generation, and maybe even their parents, I'd say a lot of people don't know. I think a lot of people have confused being Punjabi and being proud of drinking with being a Sikh, because people don't call it a Punjabi wedding where they have a pee up. They call it a Sikh wedding, and I hear people. I hear conversations all the time. Yeah, I went to a Sikh wedding. There's whiskey on every table.
Yeah.
Just like free alcohol, all that. Like just, and it's just, you just feel sick, and you can't really say anything to them, because me just standing on my own saying no, Sikhs don't drink. It doesn't have a lot of impact compared to, like, you know, a couple of them just getting crazily drunk and dancing around, their pugs falling off and stuff like that. And I'd say, look, we have to think what we're doing for our new generations. If you have a wedding, an undercard is happening, and then straight after that you have a party where you go and get completely legless, in the eyes of a young person, that is basically saying that, well, this is condoned by our religion. And I think where Gurdwara can come in at that point is, if you are going to have an undercard, this is what I was discussing with a couple of people before, was just as Christians have courses that people wanting to get married in a church have to take, Gurdwara should offer such a course. I mean, at the very least, in the olden days, a Gyani who was conducting an undercard, he used to give Sikhya to the people getting married. He say, this is what your life should be like, and these are the things you shouldn't do, the general Sikh Maryada. And I mean, that's totally disappeared. So people have no guidance whatsoever.
People are in such a rush to get to the party, they've got no time for the Sikhya.
I mean, I've seen people turn up drunk to another colleges, sitting in the Sangat. You can see they can't even walk into the Gurdwara. I mean, that's how much respect we have, and that's how much lack of knowledge we have. And you can see that in the young generation, like being a university student. I know people come to, I'm not going to name names, but people come to Sikh Socks, not just at my uni, at different unis.
Sikh societies.
Yeah, Sikh societies, at all unis. They come to basically find mates to go and get drunk with. It's not. They come to the first event, make friends, and then just go get drunk. Some people go straight after. Some people are sitting drinking before Sikh Sock meetings. And so that's how far it's gone. But I mean, I can't really blame people, because in university life, the social life is centered around alcohol. So I can understand it would take a lot of courage to basically say, you know, I'm not going to drink, because especially if you're living out, all your friends are drinking, especially the other Sikhs are drinking, you won't find many things or girls that don't drink, especially even girls, they drink like crazy. So I would say to any young people, you know, try to find people that don't drink, or if you have got friends that do drink, don't feel pressured, be happy with who you are, be strong in who you are, make that conscious decision to not drink, make that conscious decision to live the life you want to live. You shouldn't feel pressured by other people, because if you start doing that now, you can do that the rest of your life. And Sikhi, Khalsa means not just pure, Khalsa means someone who belongs directly to the emperor, who belongs directly to Guru Sahib. So if you're giving in to people, like I said, you're going to be giving in to people the rest of your life. Whereas if you submit to Guruji now, you're not going to be inhibiting your life, you're not going to be trapped, or you're not going to be like, people feel Sikhi is a barrier. You're not going to be a barrier. It's going to free you, and you're going to feel the benefits.
It's liberating.
Because this period of life where you're at university is when you make or break yourself. If you turn into a drunken wreck and you don't even realize it, you know, it's going to last through the rest of your life, and you can damage your reputation at that time. That's for boys and girls.
Definitely. I mean, I wanted to say a story from my university life, actually. When I remember, and I was not far from the kind of environment that you talk about. You know, it was that, you know, it was a lads' environment. And it was a big drinking culture there, and we had a big group of us all Punjabi lads and stuff. And a few years ago, there was one of our people I lost contact with, but was a good friend at university. He died. He got jaundice, and you know, he passed away. Died from liver failure, and it's going back 4 or 5 years. So he's mid-30s, early to mid-30s. A young guy, and you know. You get back, you meet the people again, you know, it's a big reunion and everyone's saying, what happened? Stuff, and he became an alcoholic. And you track it back, you track your life back, and you think, you know what, we started off together. I remember, and I remember us probably new at university, yeah, you know, clueless, buying our first bottle of Shah together probably. I remember this. And I think, you know, Maharaj is getting bakshish now. you know, how one path can go the other way and another path can go another way. And he's a young guy. He's not, people automatically think alcoholics are in their 40s, 50s and 60s. I mean, he's young 30s, and he damaged his body so much through alcohol. And, you know, you almost think, you know, you almost want, you know, you, well, not almost, but you're grateful to Maharaj. Okay, he's protected you and he's taken you out of that situation. I mean, he's lost a life there, Haji Paji.
Yeah, I just want to basically touch on your point that you just made about from back in the days when you was at university, Hannah. I actually myself gave up drinking 7 years ago, in 2004, with Guru's Kirpa, and then coming to Sikhi totally after that. So basically, the point I want to make is at the time, it was a social thing. It was about having the nightlife and all that in university. But personally, myself, from the outside, I was very happy, especially when I was drinking, because obviously that it gives you that happiness buzz. But the higher it would take me, the next day the lower it would take me as well. So the reason I'm sharing that point is because there might be people out there like that who are feeling like that right now, who are just doing it because they feel that they don't really have purpose, they don't really feel that they have aims or goals, and they feel that they must do that to try and fit in with people. So basically, that was my sort of personal experience. And sort of in terms of the family setup, family environment, you do, as we've discussed, you do find that, you know, you do know alcoholics within your family, your extended family, or friends' families. And the thing is, there is that element of hypocrisy as well. Because at the end of the day, if you know somebody has a problem and you're trying to help them and you're telling them, okay, you shouldn't be doing this, but more often than not, we're doing it ourselves in front of them, in front of their very eyes. So that's also a thing that we need to consider. Another thing is, especially with our communities, how they're set up and how the pride factor is around people's families. People don't want to admit that they've got a problem. And the difference with our community and the Gore, Kale, whoever else, the other ethnic communities or whatever, they're ready to step forward and go to places where they can get help.
But perhaps we don't offer that structure as well. In the Punjab. We don't, actually, perhaps...
It's not even on our radar, that's the thing.
Yeah, no, it's not.
You know, because, for example, I mean, why haven't our Gurdwaras... No, I mean, obviously, we always come back to Gurdwaras, because Gurdwaras is the institute for a Sikh. Why haven't they given any kind of, you know, why don't they help alcoholics? Why is there no setup like that in a Gurdwara? I mean, we can move towards doing, you know, party halls, which promoting alcohol in the Gurdwara complexes. But, I mean, in the time of need, a person doesn't need a party hall, you know, and in a time of need, that's when he'll come to the Gurdwara, and the Gurdwara doesn't offer those kind of facilities which you know, give him that support.
No, you're right.
And
it's, you know, and I mean, going back to the some of the seva that we've been involved with, the homeless downstairs, and we've got alcoholic problems down there, and it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, we're inexperienced. 2 months. In 2 months, it's been a learning game, and we've learned a few things, but we've definitely realised that we lack the experience and the understanding and the knowledge and the you know, the support structure to support the Sharabis, because really someone who's got an alcohol problem, they need support, and you can't give up on them, because they go through peaks and troughs. We have 5 days they don't drink, 1 day they get drunk, and you think it's so easy to get disheartened and go, chal, you know, leave him, and then, you know, you can give up on that person. But the ones who survive, I met we've had some support from an individual who was a chronic alcoholic, and he got out of it, and he survives 1 day at a time. 1 day at a time. He goes, I wake up in the morning, and I have to live this day. And it's been 5, 6 years, I can't remember how long he said. And he has to survive 1 day at a time. And he's saying that, you know, it was through the support of his brother. I think his brother's passed away, but his brother gave him so much support and stood by him, and, you know, was his backbone and never gave up on him, that he got him through. And I think that's something that's really important as well, because if you really want to help somebody, you've got to be with them all the way. Haji Paji.
We're talking about sort of initiatives of like alcohol and society, and then alcoholism and society. But I think the other thing to look at here is also addiction. People get addicted to lots of very different and very damaging things, and a lot of these things are very, very hidden. It's very easy for someone to get addicted to sleeping. I know it sounds a bit bizarre, but that's very damaging for that person's health. But you can be addicted to sleeping. You can be addicted to, you know, people are addicted to gaming. And the thing is that sometimes as a community, obviously, alcohol addiction affects us, affects me as an individual, and as I said, it affects every person here, that someone close to them, a loved one, has been massively affected by alcohol abuse. Now, the other thing we've got to be looking at also perhaps is the whole brand of addictions that we have, you know, and they're so damaging. And just to make sure that, you know, we've got to be a little bit careful that while we're saying to someone, I'll give an example. There was a Sikh society incident where, you know, a few things got a bit upset with the guys who were drinking. And someone from the drinking circle said, hang on, you lot stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning playing FIFA, playing computer games. In the morning, you lot are knackered. So where's the difference? And on one side, hang on, these are completely different things. One of them's harming your body, harming your liver, one of them just a social gaming thing. But suddenly the lines start becoming a little bit blurred. You know, and I think that's one thing to be very cautious of, that it's not just the drugs and the substances that can be misused, it's also habits. Habits are addictive and habits can become very damaging.
That's why probably we got right, to have that structured, disciplined life.
But you know, but the thing is that you can be addicted to Sikhi to a perception of Sikhi that becomes damaging as well. Like if there's ever a person from a family that's not from a Gurmat facing family, and the person gets into Sikhi and goes, you know, quite far
60,
very quickly.
Yeah, not 60 too fast, yeah.
And then suddenly the parents are like, hang on, just don't get too involved. Because you can get so involved in Sangat that you may forget your family. And we've all seen that happen as well. So this is, again, it becomes an unmoderated addiction again, that, you know, I go to Sangat and I feel really good and it's a great buzz. But hang on, when you come home, it's like, hang on, you just kind of start ignoring what's going on at home. And that is also a challenge. So yes, that's a good addiction to have, but then that also can have its consequences as well, where, you know, you go out into society and it affects. In terms of, you know, at what point does it stop? A lot of addicts, it's a case of, you'd think it's until it's cost them something that they'll stop.
Interesting, yeah.
But the reality is, unfortunately, that they will trade off everything because that is their foundation. And that's just what, you know, it's a reality we've got to accept, that their addiction, whatever it is, not just alcohol, their addiction is always going to take their priority. And, you know, I'm not an expert on the subject, but maybe those that have that knowledge of psychoanalysis and the psychology of addiction, maybe they need to step forward and say, look, you know,
yeah, no, I mean, we need that expert. And the thing is, we probably have them in the Sikh community, but we're not doing anything for the community as a whole. I mean, okay, you know, you've got to work for the wider community. Sabatta Pala, we've discussed it as well. We've also got to recognize the problem. Yeah. Do you think as Punjabis there's an addictive nature that we have? Because sometimes I think about this and I think, you know what, is there an addictive nature in Punjabis where we get hooked very easily onto alcohol? There's a drug problem in Punjab now. It's evident, we've seen it with some of the people that come in the UK who are on heroin and crack and everything.
I don't know if it's addictive nature, but I think that it all stems from the household. It stems from the home. So whatever the individual's learning, you know, for example, you know, in some people's homes, I mean, they're not
free alcohol.
It's free. It's excessive. It's excessive drinking. People. I mean, we've all experienced. We've seen the excessive drinking. We've seen people. You know, we've seen our elders sitting around tables, and ourselves obviously being open to sit around tables and just drinking and drinking and drinking. You know, the whole perception of alcoholism, the whole perception of drinking is to the extreme. It's that, you know, you drink until you drop. Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's a peg. I remember glasses being filled up.
Yeah, Patiala pack.
I remember glasses of literally, you know, and they call it Patiala peg. I would say that's 2 fingers, and they use that as the 2 fingers. They pour that much.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see that.
Yeah,
and it's common. I used to remember seeing that all the time.
So, I mean, that probably creates the addictive nature to a point.
It's interesting you say that, because when we were doing the Save with the homeless as well, there was a Baji of our age who came and discussed his drink problem, trying to help him. And mid-late 30s, the guy was, and he was an alcoholic, and he started drinking at the age of 12. He used to nick 2 dabbe from his dad's fridge. Yeah. Two cans of dabbe, and that's where he started his drinking. The holy as life went on, you know, and by the time he got into his late teens, he was fairly addicted. I think he recognized quite early on in life that he had a problem, and he had a big battle. And you know, Maharaj Kirpanal, you know, he's done extremely well. He's done really well to where he is now and stuff. How do you do?
I just wanted to elaborate on that point as well, that the whole thing about drinking within our culture actually does start off at a very early age, in that when you're growing up, if you see your parents and your close family doing it around you, and then they're saying to you that it's okay for me to do it but not for you to do it, then it's hypocrisy, isn't it? It's not going to work. And also, like you said, with that body, he was pinching his dad's dubbit. Is that if it is in the house, then children by nature are very inquisitive and they will try it. They will try it. I can admit that I've actually done that when I was little.
You went through it when
you do. You do. But then the thing with alcohol, I remember when I was little, just opening it and trying it out of the cupboard, just out of curiosity, and it tasted absolutely foul. But now, the way the alcohol industries is that they're actually making them more palatable for children. So they're the alco pops.
And it's more dangerous.
Yeah, it is very dangerous now. So it is for them like drinking fizzy pop. And they are, being open to it at such an early age. So come, early 20s, they may well be completely addicted by then and already have done so much damage to their bodies.
I mean, we're talking about teens and stuff. I mean, what's interesting as well is when you go into the work environment as well, those of you that are working out there, I mean, we have to battle university, we've got to battle social pressures of being a teenager. Then you go into the work environment, and then you see Shariam drinking there as well, you lunchtime drinking, work dues and that expectation. So it sort of follows you everywhere, and it follows it there. Then you could be in a Punjabi environment where weekend te biyate jana, there's full exposure to sharab there and stuff. So it's very hard to escape. It's there all the time, and it's the strength that the Gursikh needs to have is it's important.
Just to add to that point, basically, it's important that we speak about the work environment because let's face it, we spend the majority of our time there at work. So every single event which is work related is near enough going to have some form of alcohol there, whether it's somebody's birthday drinks or somebody's leaving. There's always something going on, and as a Gursikh, or anyone who has some kind of faith, it's always a test of faith because at the end of the day, the majority of people are going to go to these events and you're going to get asked, well, do you want to come along? Some people, they make up excuses, but then they have to keep on making up excuses. And there's that fear factor that, I hope so-and-so doesn't ask me today. Do you know what I mean, Hana? But with Guru's Kirpa, Hana, this is something which is amazing for us as Guru Sikhs, Hana, that if we have faith in Guru, Guru provides the answers for us and Guru takes care of us. So I got just a little example, Hana. I just started a new job, Hana, like it's been about a year now, and sort of, I was waiting for the first time I would be asked, Hannah, that are you going to come to the pub, Hannah, as usual, Hannah. But what was most amazing about this time was that it was two people having a conversation either side of me, and I was sitting in the middle of them. So one person asked me, would I be coming to the pub on Friday night? And before I had the chance to give a reply, the person sitting the other side of me said that, don't you know, he's not allowed to go where there's drink. He's not allowed to go to those places. And I just thought to myself, why Guru? Because I didn't even need to say anything. And the other person had like a face of shock. And he said, I was only asking. I said, no, I appreciate that you asked, but no, I don't want to go. And I was just amazed because that's basically what we're meant to be like, but we're totally the opposite. And the negative example I have is obviously because, of the culture that we have, that everyone thinks automatically that we drink. I was on the induction process, and there was an Eastern European guy, and he said, you're a Sikh, this, that, and the other, and he goes, one of my best friends is a Sikh, and I was like thinking, well, wait for it, I knew what was coming, but he said it was so much conviction. He said, do you drink? And I said, no. And he goes, you can't be a Sikh if you don't drink. He had that much conviction in what he was saying. This is an Eastern European guy. Yeah, he had that much conviction. And I said, no, basically, this is the reason why I don't, I'm baptized. And he said, oh, okay. He goes, you're baptized. His mother's like that. And basically he was like, then I thought, okay, I'm getting somewhere with this guy. And then he was like, well, why have you done it so young? Why didn't you do it when you're older? But this is the perception that we have. And this is the perception that we're giving people. So wherever we go, it's important that we try to set the example. So people around us know what kind of people we really are.
We're ambassadors, you're right, we're walking, talking pracharaks. I mean, it's a prime example, what Paji said there as well. In the work environment, no one takes offense to you saying that you don't drink and you don't want to be in that environment. I've been working long enough now as a Gursikh to have made that statement, and it doesn't work against you. It does not work against you. You say it and people respect that. People respect that, don't say anything, don't have any expectation. They don't expect you to be there. you know, because, and, you know, fortunately, you know, the route that we have, the way we look, and Britain, I think, is quite a tolerant society. There's not an expectation. Hala, probably in family environments, they expect you to be in the party hall, they expect you to be at the reception, and they expect you to be sitting in there. So that's a bigger battle. You know, the work environment's actually more respectful towards your Sikhi Sarup. I think the other environment says, you know, you have to go and sit on that table. You know, sharab's been poured.
Yeah, it's really a big battle, and especially एक कहते हैं कि शराबी नु शराब छुड़ाना is just like ना kids आपा कहे कि chocolates खानियां छाड़ दे, sweets खानियां.
Of course, yeah.
It's the same thing. We can't stop kids to eating chocolates. It's the same thing. है ना आपा किसी नु alcohol वास्ते stop करना is really really hard job. ਹੁਣ families ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹੀਏ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਇਨ ਮਾਈ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਐਸ ਵੈਲ ਕਹੀਏ ਵੀ ਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀਣਾ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਓ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਹੱਡਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਜਸਟ the answer is that
they made their mind up
ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਜੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਣੀ ਜਾਨ ਛੱਡਣ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਨੇ ਮਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝਣ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ 10 ਸਾਲ ਵੱਧ ਜੀ ਲਾਂਗੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਆਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਵਾਈਫਸ ਸਫਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਸਟਿਲ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵਿਆਹਣੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਬੇਟੀ ਵਿਆਹਣੀ ਹੋਊਗੀ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ ਤੇ ਕਹੂੰਗੇ ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਹਾਈਲੀ ਐਜੂਕੇਟਿਡ ਵੈਰੀ ਗੁੱਡ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਸਮਾਰਟ ਐਵਰੀਥਿੰਗ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਫਾਈਨ ਪਰ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਦੈਟਸ ਓਕੇ It's really really shameful embarrassment ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਸਫਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹੀ ਸਫਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੇਰ ਉਸੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ
cycle you know you just come back into that
ਉਹ ਟੀਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ they are not ਲੈਸਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਸਫਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਸਫਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੇਈਏ
embarrassment to actually they feel embarrassed to actually stand up for the principle you know that's why it sometimes feels like you know all you're doing is standing up for the principle that your family has been destroyed by alcohol but people don't want to do that
it's the pressure it's the social pressure I think that's what it boils down to it's complete you know they like you said they can't stand up to it. But I think you know what Benji's saying it's really important you know I think sometimes we shy away from doing Sikhi Prachar and talking to our own relatives and standing strong in our principles. Because we better not say to them, they're going to find it very offensive and whatever. And there's subtle and decent ways of doing it. You don't have to be in their face and directly pointing fingers at them. But you know, when your doorbell rings and a Jehovah's Witness opens, you open the door and it's a Jehovah's Witness, he's quite confident and happy to talk about his faith to you. You know, and sometimes you look and you think, I've got to admire him for that. I've got to admire him for that. He's seen me in a Sikh Sarup, very good Allah, Dara Prakash, and he's still talking to me about Jehovah, and he's still trying to think, okay, I've got to admire that conviction. You know, and I think sometimes I think, you know, maybe we can take a leaf out of that and think, you know, we still need to talk to, maybe Barle Bande we can't talk to, but Jere Sade Sikh Pan Pra, Punjabi Pan Pra, maybe we should talk to them a bit more often and try and be a bit more direct about a situation. Hanji Paji.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to hit on that point as well. I think Benji said something about sometimes when taking it back there when you said growing up children are sometimes told not to have alcohol when their parents are having alcohol. There's a Sikh, you know, in our Sikh tradition when a baby is first born, this is something a real life incident I came across. When a baby is first born, it's our tradition to do Japji Sahib over water and then put the Amrit inside the child's mouth. This is our Sikh tradition. Guru Maharaj is my witness. One well, a colleague, he's watching the show, he told me that when his child was born, or he said, this is a tradition in their family, when the child's born, they put alcohol on the lips. Guru Maharaj, I'm sitting here in Guru Card, Guru's Prakash, just, you know, a few meters away. That's what he said. So my next kind of question is, how do we're all very aware that, okay, we're not to consume alcohol and we'll be very steadfast in it. We all tell people we won't go to pubs because it's, you know, it's not our scene, rightly so. But like you were saying, to the Monna or to the Monni or whoever, how do we appeal to them? One other thing I was going to say was, we've been like brought up in Camden, London. No Sikhs around.
Yeah, it amazes me how he's
no Sikhs around. Yeah, well. What we need to make sure we do is, whether we have cousins that are, you know, have cash, don't have cash, you know, Monna, whatever, wherever they are, especially when they're in remote places, we should be feeding them little bits of Sikh whenever we're in touch. we need to include, whether you have a dastar or not, we need to include everybody in our panth. We need to monitor their progress as well, particularly our youngsters. Whether all of our issues that we talk about and that we discuss here, it all comes back to one thing: we're not following Sikhi. Well, some of us are, but Sikhi does solve, all the problems in the world come down to, more ego, lust, possessions, whatever. It's all there for us. We've done, where we failed, even though a lot of us are trying, is we haven't put it out there enough. Like what you're saying about Jehovah's Witnesses, we haven't put it out enough to even our own families that live, wherever.
We shy away from it a lot, yeah. I mean, in projecting ourselves. And the Gurdwara Pracharaks do as well. They tread very carefully around the sharab out of fear of offending people. Offending people in general. And you'll see that quite a lot, and that has to be quite direct as well. Hanji Bhai.
Just basically going on from what Baisal was saying, innit? Obviously, because we're talking about alcohol here, innit? Just a quick point. If we see somebody or we sort of detect that someone may have a problem, it's important we do try our best to try and help them in any way possible, whether it's talking to them, giving them support, or whatever. The problem we have is when we see somebody like that, we think this person, is not our problem, That's the biggest fault that we have. But whoever it is somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's whatever ishta, So we need to look at them as our own brother, our own sister, or whatever it is, somebody close to us, and try our best to help them. Obviously, at the end of the day, if that person doesn't want help, then you can't do anything about it. But there are people out there that do want help.
You can try your best. I don't think I've thought about that as well, and I've thought, what, no matter what you've done, it's something. And even if that person on their dying bed remembers that Gurdwara ne, helped me out, the Gurdwara helped me out, Gursikh helped me out, even if that's his last thought, you've done something. Even if he did die from alcohol at the end of the day. But what we don't want is to be in a position where we don't do anything. When we first found out about the homeless people in Ilford, we went to see him at the Salvation Army, Punjabi Sikh sare, and I remember this whole perception that they had, ke tusi kuch karan joge nahi hai. They were saying it to us. And one person said it, he goes, "Asi Singha to madad nahi lende. Asi Sikhya par asi Singha to madad nahi lende." They had that perception of us. Ke asi kuch kar nahi sakde. And we went in there, we went to the Salvation Army, Christian structure there, and we saw 35 homeless people sleeping there, and out of the 35, 20 of them were apne. And you felt, what, we should be doing something for these lot. If they become Christians tomorrow, I do not blame them one bit, because they're getting support there. They're talking to them. Volunteers were sitting with them, talking to them, discussing it. And they know them. They knew them by name and everything. And you almost felt embarrassed. We as Sikh should be doing something. And that was probably if it wasn't for the Salvation Army, I don't think we would have started the Seva. It was nothing else but seeing the Salvation Army Seva and seeing that, they're doing it and feeling that, this is Guru Nanak Sikhi. Yeah. And they understand Guru Nanak Sikhi, and perhaps we don't. Yeah. And that's what was our instigating factor.
It makes us, when you think about it, we're so far behind. Some of these organizations, some of these like Christian organizations are so far thinking. They thought about these things, 50, 60, even 100 years ago, visionary. We're still in the background, and now after a big, massive alcohol problem in our community, we can start thinking, should we have alcohol, should we be doing things in the Gurdwara? We're trailing behind, and that's the problem.
Yeah, another reason why, we keep comparing ourselves to other communities, but I'm not justifying why people drink, but we've got an issue where other communities have a lot of support internationally. They have a lot of representation internationally. We're basically on our own. If we look to our support in Punjab, where this problem comes from, really,
roots from,
right?
Yep.
Punjab allows alcohol. I think Punjab, more alcohol is consumed in Punjab than it is in Ireland, which some people find hard to believe. In other states in India, alcohol is banned, but it's not banned in Punjab.
Yes, Gujarat is banned.
Exactly, in Gujarat and in other states as well. We can't even ban tobacco around Darbar Sahib. So this is another reason why other faith communities can get support internationally, but we don't even recognize this problem in Punjab itself.
They've created leverage, and these other communities have created clout, and that's something that we really have to move forward on. We've got a very short period of time. Paji, do you want to quickly?
Sorry, can I just go back to what we were talking about before, about how can we target people who are like Monet or just people who drink? A lot of people might be thinking here, you're talking about alcoholics and people who are really down in the dumps, and they think, well, I drink socially, I drink casually.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, what's the problem? But the thing here is that, and I think this is where the problem is in the prachar. Prachar shouldn't just be don't drink alcohol, that's it. It's about changing your lifestyle. Because I don't blame anyone who's living any average lifestyle to drink. Because what other, drinking and doing other drugs and doing all sorts of things, what else is there to liven up life, to be honest? That is where Sikhi comes in. And that is, for those who think, I don't have a problem. The thing is, if you have a presence of alcohol and drugs in your life, if you do that, just to relax or for your cushy or whatever, there will most likely come a day where you're upset about something, and because you have a presence of alcohol in your life, that is what you'll turn to. Whereas with a Gursikh, someone who's practicing Sikhi, if they are just day by day, they are doing their Bani, they are doing their Simran, they're going to Sangat, that will be there for them when they are upset. That will be what they go to when they're upset. As opposed to someone who drinks, they'll go to the drink. And you can't do too much Sikhi, you can't do too much Bani, whereas you can do too much drink. If you become dependent on the drink, you're going to be ruined. If you become dependent on the Bani, and if you have a dukh that makes you go to the Bani, fantastic, because you will get onto that path and you'll go better and better. Drink, totally opposite. So we have a choice to make in our life. When our life is going well, how we set up ourselves for when we're going to have a troubled time is based on how we act now. And so if you don't have that in your life now, you don't have a risk of having those problems and just everything spiraling out of control. Just like all the homeless people downstairs. We know stories about some of them. They were normal people in normal jobs.
That's right, yeah.
But they had alcohol in their life, and look where they are now. So have Sikhi in your life instead. That's what I can say.
That's a brilliant message, and I think, to be honest with you, that's the kind of message that we would, we can't ask for a better message to end on. Once again, I'd like to thank the Sikh channel for coming down to film the show. 1 hour's just flown by. I just want to make a quick announcement. We've got a program here in East London on the 16th of March at Barking Gurdwara. We're doing a series of talks where we're